Am I the a-hole for not showing my friend any sympathy when she got mugged because she slept with a total stranger? My friend/roommate has always been a huge party animal, and quite frankly, a demon. And this was basically caused by not having much surveillance growing up as a teenager and spiraling even more in her early 20s. But oh, don't even dare try to stop her from living a little, or you might catch an elbow to the nose. I'm saying this because this woman literally elbowed me in the nose when I tried to stop her at this one bar from going home with a total stranger. The guy looked like bad news, so excuse me for trying to save your life. She told me she was going over to his place for a little fun, wink wink, and I told her no. She looked at me and laughed. What are you, my mom? Then went with him outside the bar. And when I tried to reach for her hand and pull her away from him, she turned and wham! Funny bone to the nose bridge. Leave me alone and go home, she yelled. Everyone around me looked at me and I felt so embarrassed. She didn't even seem to care that my nose was bleeding. Anyways, the next day comes and I hear a knock on the apartment door. I go over and look through the peephole, and lo and behold, it's the nosebreaker herself. I open the door and she has no shoes, no phone, and no purse. I didn't need a story being told to me to know what happened. Someone got mugged. She walks past me fuming, calling the guy all sorts of names, and saying how when she finds him, she'll make him regret it. Well, while she's going on her little rampage, I'm over at the kitchen island pouring myself a cup of coffee with one AirPod in, listening to a true crimes podcast. She looks at me, and at this point she can clearly see the "I couldn't care less" written all over my face. And she asks me, "Don't you even care?" And almost as if I knew she was gonna say it, I responded with a quick no. She then directed her anger towards me, saying I was a witch, an a-hole, a jerk. She then said, "I could have been killed. Why didn't you stop me from going home with that guy?" I'm not joking. I wanted to leap across that kitchen island and do some damage, but instead I decided to keep my cool. Long story short, I'm currently at my parents' house right now. I did all the paperwork and moved out of that apartment and far away from her. I've blocked her in my contacts and on social media. And as I write this, I have friends messaging me what happened and why did you move out. I'll tell them when I'm done, but low-key I want to know, was I an a-hole for simply not caring? Now for the top comments. A grown adult assaults you and breaks your nose when you advise her against an irresponsible action. Then has the audacity to say, "Why didn't you stop me?" She's a grown adult and responsible for her own actions. Not a-hole. Not a-hole. I have a nicer version of that friend. Love to party and hook up, but very sweet and no elbow throwing. I'd love to say she grew out of that phase and lived happily ever after, but no. Her life isn't made for TV movie bad, not a drug addict or homeless, but in her 50s and regretting a lot of dumb decisions she made when she was younger. My point, you're not responsible for people continuing to make bad decisions. You did the right thing. Next week, it will be a different drama with her. Smartest thing you did was getting away from her. You tried to stop her but got a broken nose for being a good friend. You were correct. She got what she deserved. Maybe she will remember this incident the next time she wants a random pickup. Seriously, Opie is lucky that she never brought some trash over to the apartment. That would have hurt them both. Not a-hole. I'm sorry, but I had a friend in my teens and early 20s who when drunk would always get violent. Usually with me. This happened at least 4 times. I'll take responsibility by saying that I didn't listen to my other friends telling me that she was bad news, and to stop hanging out with her, and continued to because I had no self-esteem and poor impulse control. But she moved back to town last year and has repeatedly tried to add me as a friend on Facebook. I just blocked her, and now whenever she sees me in town, she scowls at me. Too bad for her. She's a crappy person and a crappy friend. If she ever comes near me again and tries to lay a hand on me, you bet I'm calling the police on her abusive butt. Not a-hole. Stay away from her. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not agreeing to be friends with a guy that bullied me in high school? I, 25 female, was severely bullied in high school. I was considered quite chubby. I think I was 130 pounds at the time, 160 centimeters, but I had a bit of a stutter. The stutter was because of anxiety and it would only happen when I was around people that would be mean or bully me. In my junior year, a boy in my grade joined in on the action. Let's call him Jake. He was so much worse than everyone else. He used to follow me on my walk home and pour things on me, push me into bushes or into oncoming traffic, etc. He once pushed me into a lake when we were on a school trip when he found out I couldn't swim. I could go on and on about the things he did to me, but we would be here all day. After one particular incident where he made fun of me for my appearance, I really couldn't take it anymore. It wasn't the worst thing he did, but it was the last straw that broke the camel's back. I tried to end myself with sleeping pills, but my uncle found me and took me to the hospital. I was in a coma for 11 days. I didn't go back to school after that and was homeschooled for my senior year. I never spoke to anyone from my school except 2 girls, Kate and Sarah, who checked up on me at a hospital. We're still friends. I moved away from that town after high school. I'm back in town for the first time in 7-ish years now. My cousin is getting married, so I'm here for a wedding. I decided to come a week early to spend time with my parents. I went to a bar with Kate and Sarah a couple of days ago, and I saw Jake. I didn't recognize him at first, but Sarah told me it was him. I felt kind of anxious, but decided to pretend like he wasn't there. He approached us as we were leaving and said hi to me. I said hi and engaged in a small talk. Our Uber arrived, so we said bye to him and left. He sent me an email. Not sure how he got it, but I've had this email since high school, so maybe he's had it since. I don't know. It was quite long. He apologized for everything he did and said he's mortified he was even that kind of person. He said it's been haunting him since he heard of my attempt and is deeply sorry. I replied to him saying it's alright and I forgave him a long time ago because I didn't want to hold on to hate and resentment from high school. I ran into him again at a pharmacy and he asked if we could talk. We went outside and he asked if we could go for dinner as friends and catch up. I said sorry, but I would really rather not. He asked why I can't go for dinner if I've apparently forgiven him. I said forgiveness doesn't mean I have to engage or be friends with him, and simply I don't want to be friends. It'll be weird given our history, and I'd rather not be reminded of my high school years. He looked bummed out but didn't insist, and left. He sent another email 3 hours ago saying he can't bring himself to forgive himself if he doesn't feel like I have, and that me refusing to even have dinner with him makes him feel like I haven't forgiven him and the guilt is eating him up. I replied saying, I'm sorry, but I'm not having dinner with you, and you should take that up with a therapist. I've told you I have forgiven you. I just don't want to have dinner with you, and I'm not going to force myself to do so to ease your conscience. I told my parents of this whole thing and they said I'm being too harsh on him, and that I should do what I can to make him forgive himself, because no one deserves to live with guilt. They said one dinner is nothing, and I should just suck it up and go. I said no, and kind of got angry at them. I really don't know whether I'm being irrational or not. Am I the a-hole? Your parents are the a-holes. You, and let's not forget he, made an attempt on your life. How could your parents tell you to just suck it up? You're so not the a-hole. You are 100% in the right. Forgiveness does not mean friendship. And if he's too stupid to understand that, that's on him. Every word and step you have taken are completely spot on. Not the a-hole. Yes, forgiveness does not mean friendship. Not the a-hole. This, forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. Doesn't mean you forget the pain caused. It just means you have been able yourself to move past it. If he can't accept that, then that's on him. And is still an a-hole bully for trying to guilt OP into anything beyond what she is comfortable doing. Can we start to finally truly normalize that a person who wronged does not have to be the bigger person? I'm so sick of hearing how OP's parents responded. Yeah, you were treated like absolute crap to the point of self-harm, but hey, he said sorry, so you should be friends now. Like what? No, just no. Also, sorry, but some people do deserve to live with guilt. But if he needs to do anything to get past the guilt, then he should seek therapy, not expect OP to fix him. I think you handled it extremely well, not the a-hole. Way better than I would have personally. OP knows what she is comfortable with, and they respect herself enough to not put herself into situations she is not comfortable with. Also, her response is extremely gracious, while also setting boundaries. Great job in every aspect, OP. That part. Like her parents really want her to go out to dinner with a guy who attempted to end her more than once and drove her to attempt ending herself. All of it boggles my mind. Yeah, not sure I'd be on good standing for a while with my folks for something like that. Also, I would have told the guy after he insisted that I was only being polite before. But since he is pushing the issue, he shouldn't ever be able to find relief for what he did. And there is no forgiveness that can be had for such atrocious behavior. Dude may just be trying to hook up anyway. Not the a-hole, bless you. It sounds to me that he's still bullying you. It's all about power. Unlike you, he obviously hasn't grown as a human being. I think you have behaved impeccably. What will he ask for next to prove you forgive him? Something else you didn't want to do or makes you feel uncomfortable? No, you've done brilliantly. Well done. Last story. Am I the a-hole for getting upset with my morbidly obese cousin for editing a picture of me? Plus mini updates. I, 18 female, recently went to a family gathering that my parents were in charge of. They had food, drinks, and games. I'll call the cousin in question Annie. Annie, 28 female, is morbidly obese. We never talk about weight or anything like that in our family. I respect and love her and don't have a problem with her weight. At a party, she wanted to take a bunch of pictures with people. She got this one really cute picture of me and her and asked if she could post it. I said of course, and the rest of the party went without incident. The next morning when I checked Instagram, I was horrified to see that she had severely edited a picture. She made me look like I was about 200 pounds heavier than I am. Fitness and health is super important to me. I exercise daily and eat really well. I have no problem with her size or anything, but I don't want her to make me look like the same as her, especially since she is friends with like all of my friends and family. She posted about 3 pics, one with me and her, the edited one with her husband, and one of just her. Anyways, I called her and asked why she edited a picture. She explained that she was trying to promote body positivity and show that it's okay to be plus-sized. I said, okay, fine, but you didn't get my permission. Also, isn't that kind of portraying that my body isn't okay? She got really upset and refused to take down the photo. She then started ranting and said, I don't understand what it's like to be fat, and life is just so easy for me. I was very upset by this and argued that no, I work hard for my body. She got really mad and hung up. I talked to the rest of my family about it and my parents and siblings were totally on my side. But my other cousin, 30 female, called me and screamed at me that Annie has always struggled with weight and food comforts her and that I am such a jerk. She then was saying she would make sure the photo never got taken down. I thought I was right, but now I kind of feel bad. I didn't mean to bring up weight issues, and I didn't say it was easy being Annie. I just didn't want that photo of me out there. Am I in the wrong? Now for the comments before reading the mini updates. You are not the a-hole. Your cousin is. What you do is post a picture of yourself in the comments and say, I don't look like that. Yep, tell her that body positivity is for all sizes, and she shouldn't distort pictures of you because you feel, keyword, beautiful just the way you are, and that you don't appreciate her body shaming you for her own entertainment. This, post a real picture of yourself in the comments. Not the a-hole. Sounds like she just didn't want to be the biggest person in the photo, especially with her response to you working hard on your body. I'm sure weight can be a sore subject for morbidly obese people, but that doesn't mean she has the right to act like this. And just because you're thinner, it definitely doesn't mean that your life is just so easy. And isn't body positivity about feeling good in the skin you're in? Why would she use that to justify her editing your body to look like hers? I'm morbidly obese. I know it. I'm not sensitive about weight talk. I know it's a problem that I need to solve, but I'd never act like the cousin here. She's married, and obviously he loves her how she is. And cousin is harassing an 18-year-old when she's near 30. So not the a-hole. As someone who has struggled with my weight for years, I take full ownership and responsibility for that. Food didn't make me fat, I did. And body positivity does not mean making a healthy person look bigger to make someone feel better. Body positivity is about accepting all bodies and being confident regardless of size. Sorry this happened to you. Thanks for saying that. The thing is, I love my cousin just the way she is. I don't have a problem with her size. I just don't want her editing my pictures or putting me down either. Tell her you feel very hurt that she doesn't think you're beautiful just the way you are, and that body positivity is to be inclusive and not reserved for anyone's shape or size. Finish with, I feel beautiful the way I am and I'm disappointed that you decided to distort my body for your own entertainment. Edit. Thanks for all the responses, everyone. They're really helpful. I'm going to report the photo and get my parents to as well. Also, I'm going to update my profile picture just in case. I understand wanting to call her out and stuff online, but I know she really cherishes social media and her followers, and I don't want to put her down. I think she's just in a bad place right now. All I really want is the photo to be removed. I know it seems like enabling her, but I'm not trying to. I'm just trying to handle the situation with caution. I just don't want to burn any bridges with my cousin or the rest of my/her family. Update? Sorry I've been busy with work, but I reported a post and so did my parents and 2 other siblings. I also told my parents how upset it made me and they want to step in. They're gonna talk with my aunt and Annie this weekend about it. Hopefully that clears some of this up, but my aunt said Annie doesn't want me there, so she's still really angry, I guess. I also updated my profile picture, but I'm pretty sure most of my friends and family knew it was altered. That's what my parents helped me realize because I've seen like most of them within the last 6 months.
My male 27 family wants me to break up with my girlfriend female 28 after how she responded to my brother's male 22 prank. Original post. I know how the title sounds, but I could honestly use some outside perspective since anyone else I could ask is biased towards the situation. I have been dating my girlfriend Lola for about 2 years now and overall things have been great. My brother Ian has always been pretty weird whenever she comes up or is around. Ian and I are very close, talking to each other daily, but the conversation will usually change gears right as I start talking about anything Lola related. I thought maybe he was jealous of the time I was spending with her or maybe a little crush on her. Still, whenever we'd get together, he'd make comments about our age gap, poke fun at me for simping, and joke about her sleep disorder. Ian's always enjoyed a good prank, either pranking or being pranked. He loves to laugh, and I genuinely believe that when he goes to prank people, he means it in a way to share the laughter. When he's tried to pull little pranks on Lola though, he does things that I've figured out triggers her disorder, like making sudden loud sounds, jumping out to scare her, and one time I caught him before he was going to do the shaving cream sleep bit while she was taking a nap in the guest room. I warned him in more detail then that he shouldn't mess with her while she's sleeping as interrupting her regulated cycles isn't good for her, and at the absolute best, she's the worst kind of cranky when she's woken up. Ian looked like he understood, and I thought that was that. I threw a New Year's Eve party a few days ago and invited Ian and a bunch of mine and Lola's friends. Everyone was having a good time. My watch went off with the alarm that we set up for Lola to take a nap. She went off with a sleepy smile. I kept partying. A while later, we all heard a scream, followed soon after by cussing and something breaking. I panicked as it was from my room where Lola was and I ran through, nearly kicking the door down to find she shoved someone down and was yelling at them. I looked to see who it was and saw a spider mask that I unfortunately recognized as Ian's from years ago. I saw him scrambling to get away, but she only stopped when 3 of her friends pushed past me to pull her up and check her before she ultimately passed out in their arms. Ian scrambled off the floor and ripped the mask off, revealing the work she'd managed to do in the time it took us to react. He started bawling, telling me that she was insane and abusive, that he only wanted to make sure she wasn't going to sleep through the ball drop. At this point, everyone started yelling. Ian looked terrified and kept repeating that she was crazy and that I shouldn't be with someone who could do this to her boyfriend's brother. Some of my guys were yelling that if she did it to him, she could do it to me. All of her friends were screaming about how he should know to leave a sleeping girl alone and how it was creepy. Ian ended up calling our mom to tell him that Lola hurt him and she's furious. Lola's friends ended up carrying her outside against my protests, and my friends were nearly split down the middle. I remember standing there while everyone argued while the ball dropped, my mother calling me for the 10th time and Lola finally texting me that she needs space to think. Since then, we've lightly texted. She's expressed that she can't shake her fear off what happened, but she still hasn't told me from her side what happened. Ian and my mom are trying to convince me to break up with her and chastising me for not helping or standing up for my brother when he was being assaulted. Also demanding an apology for not playing my part as an older brother. Ian has FaceTimed a few family members and now my aunt, who paid for both our colleges and the house my mom and brother live in, and helped me get my apartment, is taking the 3-hour drive up to make sure her boys are okay, which is stressing me out even more. On one hand, I know family is family and I should do what I can to stand up for the people who helped raise me and become the person I am. On the other hand, Lola is my girlfriend. I adore her. I love her. I feel like I should be there to protect her. I don't want to push her boundaries, but not talking to her is a different kind of hurt. Ian is convinced that he was doing a well-intentioned prank and was wrongfully punished for wanting to make sure everyone was enjoying themselves. I don't know if I believe that, but I've known Ian for 22 years. Growing up, we were inseparable. I don't want to doubt him just because love may be blinding me. How do I approach the situation with Lola? How can I convince my family that Lola isn't a threat? She's honestly the most sweet and caring person. She just can't be woken up, and part of me feels like she was pushed to that point. You do realize that your brother knew full well the extent of her sleep impediment, knew she had triggers, and used them against her? Once you have explained to him why he can't do that, and he keeps doing it, how can you defend him and try to act like he didn't have malicious intents? Of course he did. Or he just didn't care about anything other than to see her scared, no matter how it would scare and scar her. He is a jerk, through and through. You should already be dumped, really. You found your brother in your girlfriend's room, her fighting him off, and you didn't even stand up for her. Yep, there's absolutely no gray area here. The brother was 100% in the wrong. Correct. A single woman, sleeping alone, awoken by a man with a mask? I'm sorry, what part of culture fantasy world does he live in that he remotely thinks that's okay? I'm pretty sure that if a man in a mask tried to wake me up from a dead sleep, cops would be called, because that's goddamn assault. Forget about her sleep disorder. This alone is traumatizing enough. Then when you add on that the brother knew about her disorder and triggers, there's no question that this is not a well-meaning prank. Your brother is clearly an a-hole. So the question is your commitment to the word family important enough for you to take the side of an a-hole over the man he messed with, assaulted, bothered? We'll never know exactly what went down in that room, just that he went in with a-hole intentions. After my dad left, everyone on my mom's side came together to help her get back on her feet after she lost her house and was on the brink of losing her kids too. My mom had my sister and me young, and unfortunately she couldn't finish high school taking care of young twins, with my grandfather dying soon after. My aunts and extended family all came together to help raise us, get my mom the help she needed, made sure we had what we needed for school, life, and really saved us from not just homelessness, but worse. I have such high respect for my family because I know what they did for me. My aunt personally tutored me after I was diagnosed with a learning disability, and it's because of her that I made it to graduation, let alone college. I joked that I wanted to be like her when I grow up. And now to know that the same people that I owe my very life now are upset with the choice I made has made me so incredibly anxious. I freeze up thinking about it, just like I froze up in that room and I don't know what to do. I love her. I know I do. I'm flustered. Now for the first update. Thank you to everyone who has shared their advice and opinions in comments and DMs. Even the more blunt and rude ones letting me know that in not acting, I was hurting my girlfriend as well. She called me a few minutes ago, and I was so happy to hear her voice I'm still crying from getting to. She sounded quiet, not like her usual bubbly self, and she didn't say much other than to ask if I was okay and if we could talk tomorrow. I wanted nothing more than to keep talking to her. I apologized over and over, but she thanked me for apologizing and kept changing the subject to where I wanted to meet her tomorrow. We decided on this nice crepe and tea place she likes, one of our first date spots, and then she hung up. I know now that I can't stay impartial. My aunt's gonna be at my mom's soon, and I've been pacing my living room thinking of how I'm going to approach this with my family. I don't want to be rude, but I won't let my tone or language stop me from doing what I should have done in the first place. Ian has given a lot of excuses, but none of them make up for what has put her through, and that I let slide for no good reason. After hearing her voice and how down she sounded, I feel ready for war. She might break up with me, and after reading all of your comments, I'm disgusted with my actions and I'd leave me too. Full update 2 days later. To everyone who has reached out to me with advice on how I can learn from this crap storm, thank you. To everyone that has helped me understand that just because family has done a lot for you, it does not mean that you're indebted to them and can't have an opinion or life of your own, thank you. To everyone that has reached out to me telling me that I'm such an idiot, I suck as a boyfriend, they hope Lola leaves me, they wish she beat both of us up, thank you. This won't be a full update as a lot happened yesterday, and I frankly don't have time to get into everything, with police and packing to deal with. In short, while a lot of you advised I wait for Lola to tell me her side before I confront my family, they all came over to my apartment yesterday morning while I was writing out a list of questions for them.
I was supposed to go over the night before, but I texted them saying I needed time and if we could meet later today. But they obviously didn't like that and showed up unannounced. The fighting started almost immediately, and I initially was thrown off by them being there. But I matched energy and started yelling back at them for their predatory and enabling behavior of Ian, and how I couldn't believe they'd side with him over this. Golden rainbow baby aside. My aunt got in my face about disrespect, while my mom cried and brother cussed me out. But I pointed at my computer and yelled back at them that if they genuinely believed Lola was the problem, then they were victim-blaming idiots that I wanted nothing more to do with. My mom kept crying, but it got my aunt's attention with the computer, and she got close to look at a screen. I was going through comments to write up all the questions, and after a minute she turned back to us, really to my brother, and said, "What is this?" I explained Reddit and that I had posted for help. Ian then stopped comforting mom and pushed past me to get to the computer, asking what right I had sharing family business on the internet. My aunt stopped him and asked, "Why didn't you tell us you were alone with her? You never told me she was sleeping." To say all hell broke loose would be an understatement. Like a switch, my mom almost immediately stopped loudly crying and looked over at my aunt confused. Ian started shaking his head and reiterating his version of the story, which, listening to it, was infuriatingly off. I figured out that not only did he tell mom and our extended family a version of the story in which Lola was all too violent with him when he jumped from behind the door to give her a little spook, but he left out the details that put him in any bad light. I started yelling again, calling him a liar, but he started crying and called me a liar, who was just trying to lie for my girlfriend. At the sight of my brother crying, my mom pleaded with us to stop, my aunt scrolling more on the screen. It felt like both a minute and forever that we were yelling in each other's faces about how the night went on, how I felt he always used his tears to get his way, him yelling at me about how ungrateful I always was, etc. Unfortunately, I forgot where we were and didn't keep the volume down at all, and sometime later there was a knock on the door. I didn't know who it could be. Some dumb part hoped Lola, though I knew it wasn't. It was two officers, answering to a noise complaint from one of the neighbors. Feeling stupid, I plainly explained that no one was hurt and we were having a heated argument, but that no one was in danger. I did let them look around and talk to my mom and brother. But my aunt spoke up when it looked like they were just going to give us a warning. "Actually, I think it's good that you're here. My nephew has something he'd like to report." She motioned to Ian, whose eyes looked between her and the officers quickly. My aunt still looked as angry as when she first arrived, but she was glaring at Ian. You know, hypothetically, if someone touches or hits you without permission or justified reason, that's something you can and should report. Is there anything you want to say? There was silence, eyes moving to everyone around the room. My aunt didn't look encouraging in a report. It hit me that she was calling him out. I stared at him. His eyes were bulging. He looked as panicked as the other night when he was trying to get away from Lola. One of the officers asked if everything was all right, and like clockwork, Ian started bawling his eyes out. My mom asking him what was wrong. I told her she had to stop babying him. He's been lying to you guys. My aunt asking him again if he had anything to report. You were up in arms against this girl this morning. Where'd all that fire go? Did she hit you or not? It took a while for us pushing him, but he finally admitted to the room that he didn't have anything to report because he didn't feel like she'd be rightly prosecuted. His next story sounded closer to the one I knew, where he admitted to knowing Lola had gone to sleep and wanted to scare her so she'd wake up. I still don't believe his reason why he wanted her up, that he put on a mask. I asked if he knew she had a phobia. He said he knew and found them creepy, and that no, there was no one else in the room with them. He couldn't get any fewer friends to agree to the prank, so he did it himself. He said he started making sounds against the wall. The bed was against the wall and then got close to scream in her face. He said she woke up and surprised him because he thought the stress and panic would cause her to scream or hide, but she went for his throat instead. He described his beating to everyone in the room, some of which I saw had the officers look at each other then back at him. Then that's when I pushed the door in. The door wasn't locked. I just panicked and didn't think to use the doorknob properly. I just threw my body at the door, and the rest of his story is what I was there for. I'm sure if the police weren't there, I would have hit him. I know I would have. My mom started crying even more when he said she was sleeping, a fact that changed his entire story. And my aunt chewed him out, everyone scolding him for his stupidity and a-hole behavior. While the officers explained that it sounded like if what he said was true, Lola acted in self-defense. And that not only was what he did juvenile, but one of the officers asked my mom's permission to question him more as his behavior was concerning, and they wanted to make sure he wasn't a danger to himself or others. My aunt and I told the cops he was 22 at the same time, an adult, and they didn't need her permission. He looks a lot younger than he is. Upon hearing his age, one of the officers sat down with him and asked him to talk through his thought process, and the other officer explained to my mom and aunt that Lola could press charges given Ian's story. My aunt still looked angry, while my mom cried about being confused and over her baby.
My mom literally looked at me and said she didn't understand how our baby could do this. I already knew I was deep in the BS with this family, but I realized that I couldn't grow in the earth that poisoned me, and I needed to get away if I was actually going to get better and stay better. My mom kept fuzzing with my aunt and another uncle on the phone, crying over the drama, while I texted a friend of mine who lives across the city if I could stay with him. I was feeling overwhelmed with all of them and didn't want to be within a few minutes of the source of the problem. I also wanted to give myself space to think and understand with a clear head. I'm typing this between breaks of me packing. My aunt saw me in my room doing this, but she didn't stop me. She only asked if I'd spoken to Lola about this, and I told her I haven't yet, but I had plans to later on. She told me she was sorry for believing my brother without listening to any other account, and that she hopes Lola is okay. So then it was just me in the apartment. The cops left after taking a statement from my brother and I. My mom left with my brother still crying, my brother calling me an a-hole, the world's worst brother, and my aunt gave me a hug, apologizing again for how she and her sister acted, and told me that I don't owe her anything, but that she'd like to know that Lola's okay. With everyone's gone, I went to my friend's house and I'll be there until further notice. He couldn't make it to the party, but he heard about it from multiple people. As far as Lola, yes, I did meet with her yesterday. As excited as I was to see her, I know that most of you were telling me she was going to break up with me, so I'd been preparing for that. Whether I ended up single or not, I wanted to make sure she was okay above all. I know I don't deserve her as a girlfriend, and I'd much rather she not be with me if it meant she was safe. She brought a friend with her and we all sat and talked. I showed them both a post, and Lola has asked that I not share any more information about her until she feels ready herself. She's on Reddit for gaming in general, scrolling fairly often, and let me know that if she came across this story without me having told her, she would have been mad. She did, however, read a lot of the commenters worried about her and wanted me to express to you all that while upset, hurt, and with mixed up emotions, she's overall okay. She doesn't like that I posted about her without at least giving her a heads up, but after I offered to take the post down, she only asked that I give her time and to leave her personal life and opinions out of anything beyond what I've already said here, until she says otherwise. In short, she did break up with me, and when I told her about the police telling us that she could press charges, her friend laughed and told me that they were more than aware. She thanks everyone for their concern, and told me she really hopes we both learn from this. This action was approved by her. So yeah, unless I'm forgetting something, that's all I have / can give right now. My mom has been calling and texting me, telling me that this whole ordeal has made Ian and her a wreck, and she can't believe I'd let a girl do this to us. I blocked my brother right after he left my apartment, and I just blocked her. My aunt has let me know she'll talk to her, but I don't know how that's gonna go. I understand that it isn't what everyone wants, but none of this is anything I want either. To everyone who has nothing but bad things to say about me, I get it. I'm an a-hole. I appreciate any and all advice I've been given. I'm gonna be taking a break from not only the BS in my life, but this Reddit stuff too. I know I have a lot of growing up to do, and I can't do this in this environment. Thank you again to everyone.
Am I the a-hole for telling my wife she needs to find another job? Me, 26 male, and my wife, 24 female, have been married for 4 years. During those 4 years, she had the same job which requires her to be away Friday to Sunday, so she leaves early on Friday and returns about 4 to 5 p.m. on Sunday. Occasionally, it would be leaving on Saturday and returning Sunday. She also has to work some of the school/public holidays. I work full-time and get just a bit above minimum wage and tips. So our bills are split 60 her to 40 me. While I find myself struggling with money and having to borrow from the joint bank account, my wife never have this problem. I know she is getting paid more than I do as she works for a high-profile client, but I'm not sure by how much more. She also wouldn't tell me what exactly she is doing. All I know is that it is connected to her degree and it is 100% not erotic work or nothing in that industry. The reason why she won't tell me is because she signed a contract, and it is highly confidential, so she is not allowed to go into details. She does chores around the house but doesn't cook. She admits herself she is a bad cook and hates it. Instead, she would order either those pre-made healthy meals she then heat up for herself or take away. When I'm home and she hasn't ordered, she will order for me too. So most of the day while I'm working, she's either in our house chilling, watching TV, playing video games, reading or exercising, or shopping or in the gym. Over the years, I got annoyed with this and have asked her to find another job so she has something to do while I'm working instead of wasting her day. She told me she is not wasting her day, but relaxing, and her job pays her enough so she can afford a lifestyle she wants. I said it is not fair on me, as I come home tired while she has done nothing all day. To which she said I can find another job or a different job, but I am an a-hole for wanting her to find another job because I feel tired when coming back from work, when she has already got a job she loves. After this, she won't talk to me. I have spoken to my family, and while my parents agree with me that she needs to work, my sisters took my wife's side and called me a massive a-hole. Edit, I'm not saying she needs to quit the job she has. I'm saying she needs to find another job to do during her free time. Could be a part-time one, since she doesn't really do much during the day. Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole. You have no right to make your wife leave her clearly very good job just because you feel it's unfair to you. She gets paid well and gets to relax, but you'd rather she suffer working the same way you suffer than you having financial security. If it bothers you this much, how about you start looking for another job that pays more and demands less? Edit. OP, your edit that she needs to find a second job doesn't make this any better. In fact, it makes it worse. You're the a-hole. The only person who needs another job is you, so you can actually pay your half of the bills. So you want her to work 2 jobs and be tired because you work one and you're tired? How is that even remotely fair? You're the a-hole. Opie would have hated me. I saved up a bunch of money and lived off of it because I could. I only did my fair share of the housework because I paid my share of the bills. Why would I do more just because I have more free time? I paid for that time, and Opie is an entitled jerk. YTA. Your reason for wanting her to do is just because you feel jealous and emasculated. I am suffering, therefore she must suffer too, so I don't feel as bad. This is exactly how it reads. Opie is jealous she has days each week to live her life. He wants to force her into long, hard minimum wage labor just like he does. Girl has found peace and balance. Opie should be striving to be like her. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for urging my husband to go to work despite him having an upset stomach? My husband is your typical man flu guy who wants to be babied if he gets a small sniffle. Love him to death, and he is truly a fantastic person all the way around. But it's like a war zone in my house whenever he feels even remotely ill. Like even a small headache, he starts going off. Last night, he ate a bunch of ice cream. He is lactose sensitive, and due to this, he is feeling it today. He has an upset stomach and immediately started whining the second he woke up. His whining is like him groaning really loud, almost like he wants that to be the only thing you can hear. Heavily sighing kind of sounds like a toddler who is mad for not getting their way. So he was doing that and almost immediately following, starts asking me to cater to him. Fetch him ice water, run a cool shower, get him a towel, help him get motivated, etc. I don't have the time, energy, or patience for this today, especially knowing he cost it. We have 3 children who I need to tend to, a farm to run, multiple dogs to feed, and I work from home today and it's already 107 degrees and it's only 8 a.m. I don't have it in me to cater to him on top of it all. So he starts talking about taking the day off from work, and I told him he should go in and feel it out and see how he feels throughout the day. I said this after he told me he felt a bit better after a cold shower. I convinced him that maybe he wasn't drinking enough water. Anyways, by the end of it and lots of convincing later, he leaves for work. For all wondering? Yes, it's just because of the lactose sensitivity. We made sure, as we have rapid tests on hand. So he leaves, but calls me about 20 minutes ago and was like, "You just didn't want to deal with me at the house. That's it, right?" So I was honest and told him I had far too much to do today. So catering to him like he would fully expect had he stayed home would put far too much on my shoulders. And I wasn't willing to run myself on empty today. This is my only somewhat down day in comparison to other days, because I volunteer at the soup kitchen, run a charity program with the church, and I also lend a farmhand to other neighbors. So today was the only day I didn't have to do those extras and could focus on my work, farm, and kids. He says I'm an a-hole because I'm choosing to make him feel terrible and make him go to work, just because I didn't want to deal with it. I reminded him it was his fault he felt like that anyhow, and I'm not his mother. So if he wanted to stay home, he could tend to himself because I wasn't doing it today. He hung up but stayed at work. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It was entirely self-inflicted, like a hangover after drinking too much. Had he stayed home, I'd have recommended just getting on with your day as normal, as if he wasn't even there. Maybe it would have been good to see what you normally do every day, since it sounds like he may not respect it if he wants to be child number 4 when he's a little ill. This. If you get struck down with an actual illness like the flu, I get asking for help. I've had relatives drop off medicine or whatever. But if you caused your own problem, no one else should be obligated to do anything about it. Honestly, I've never needed my husband to take care of me when I was actually sick, like making good friends with a toilet sick or migraine sick. The most I've asked is for him to take over childcare, and if he wasn't busy, get an ice pack or some medicine. Both things I would do entirely on my own, even when it feels like someone's put an ice pick through my eye and keeps hammering it. Not the a-hole. First off, I hate the man cold trope. I'm not arguing if it exists. Clearly you've shown it does here. It just drives me nuts. Because I'm the type who is stubborn and refuses to be taken care of, even when I can barely walk due to being sick. Yet I've still gotten comments about having a man cold and whining unnecessary. Secondly, he brought it entirely on himself. He wants to be treated like an adult? He should act like one. That means making better decisions. If you struggle with lactose, don't eat a ton of ice cream. Problem solved. And having accountability for your own actions. He needs to grow up big time. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting my husband's other child in my house? My husband cheated on me while I was pregnant and had a baby with another woman. I found out after the other child was born. I've never been okay with this. It's exactly the kind of trash I tried so hard to have not be part of my life. If it was possible, I would have divorced him by now. But I'm stuck at a legal dead end and it's not possible. We have a legal and emotional separation agreement though. Since he travels a lot in between the baby, my parents, and my career, I've been able to avoid thinking too much about it. Well, so I thought. It's been almost 2 years since then, and now he wants to bring that child into my house. I guess he has some kind of schedule with the other child's mother that includes visits, and he wants that visitation to be in what is technically still his residence. Absolutely not. I'm not a stepmother to any child, and unlike in most of these situations, the house we're living in is truly only mine. It's under my parents' names, but I got it when I got power of attorney and they had to go into a care home. I'm not having his kid in it. My husband and our family say that I need to deal with it because I am still married, that I need to accept my stepchild, and that I'm a witch for excluding a baby and preventing siblings from having a relationship. I don't agree. This child may technically be siblings to mine, but I don't need to play mom to this kid to make a relationship happen. And I don't want any of this trash coming into mine or my child's safe space. Am I crazy for not wanting this child here? Edit. Why can't you get divorced? Why is he still living there? In my state, to file for divorce, both parties need to have been separated for over a year and living in separate residences, which requires one of us to move out. He doesn't want a divorce, so of course he won't move out. I can't make him because we're still married. In theory, I could move out and start the clock, but realistically, I can't. With a POA, I can't just abandon the house. I couldn't afford to anyway, but if I did, he would be able to remain there. I would eventually get a house back, but in the meantime, he could easily destroy it and then I'd have legal problems from that. To clarify on the separation agreement, those don't technically exist in my state, but since we have it notarized, we could use it as an interim agreement on custody and a split on finances once the clock starts, and especially post-filing. Edit 2. Adultery/at fault. I can file based on adultery. I don't really want to go that route because it would turn the entire situation very hostile very quickly. And I would still have to have him living here until we could get a court date, which could easily be months and months in the future anyway. I realize it already seems as hostile as possible right now, but day-to-day things are civil in a way that it wouldn't be if I did that. I'm also not confident that it wouldn't look bad because I would have waited 2 years after knowing about it to do anything. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. This may not be a popular opinion since most on here say you have to be a perfect step-parent and accept all situations. But you are not at all the a-hole. I was in a similar situation and still angry 30 years later. Don't let people tell you what to do or how you feel. It is your house. Tell the father to go someplace else. Also, typically, the partner is aware of the spouse having a kid prior to moving/getting married. A step-parent that tells their partner they don't want anything to do with the kid in question is different as they knew before, so now they have to live with it as it was always part of the deal. This situation is different. She doesn't even want to be in a relationship with a father. It's exactly like all the other stories that we saw recently where the OP is divorced, and the ex want the OP to take care of the step/half siblings for a weekend or something. And each time the OP is not a hole. The only difference is that she is stuck living with the other parent. And the other parent is using legal loopholes to stay there and stay married, twisting OP's hand as it is. Get a lawyer. A good one. He will bring this other child. You need a lawyer to evict him. A lot of people who share a residence go through divorce. It shouldn't be this hard without another way out. Get a lawyer and file for divorce and evict him. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for teaching my children Spanish without asking my husband to be permission? I've been seeing Mike, 40, for 3 years now, and we are planning on getting married soon and have moved in together a few weeks ago. Mike has 2 children with his first wife, who apparently left them when the kids were little. His children are Katie, female 12, and Sab, male 11. Katie and Sab's mom was from Nicaragua, who moved to the US where she met Mike. I don't know why, but the children were never taught Spanish, only English. I met Mike in the UK where I live, although I am originally from Spain. In school, they learned bits of French, but no Spanish. Here's the thing. Katie came over to me and asked me if I could teach them some Spanish, and I said absolutely. And we asked if Sab wanted to join us, and he was up for it. I was excited. It means that the kids could learn their mother's language, possibly try and get in touch with their maternal side of the family when they're older. They don't have contact with them now, and Mike said they all live in Nicaragua, and they could potentially form a stronger bond with my parents. Their future step-grandparents, as my parents speak poor English, would typically have a clear understanding of who handles what with kids. We've had plenty of discussions of what my role is and what he doesn't want me to do, etc. But frankly, I didn't think something as simple as teaching them language needed a discussion. It was just a fun activity we did. Simple things like pointing at things and telling them words or asking them. Teaching them sentences. We've only been doing it a short while, so it's basic stuff. I thought I'd mentioned it to Mike, but either I forgot or he hadn't listened, but he swears he didn't know. One day he heard me correcting Katie's conjugation and he got really angry. He asked me what I was doing. Before I had a chance of saying anything, a very excited Katie chimed in saying that she's learning Spanish and asking if he wants to learn it with her. Mike said no and sent her to her room. He argued with me that I had no right to teach them Spanish and I should have consulted him first. I told him I didn't think it would be much of a problem as the chance of them having it in school was 50-50 anyway, and they asked me to help them. He told me I overstepped the boundaries. He explicitly forbade me from speaking to kids in Spanish. I tried to understand why it was such a problem and ask him, but he told me to stop asking, said the topic was finished and tried to leave. I asked what he was hiding and he called me a witch, an a-hole, and some other names. This was the first time he ever insulted me in any way, shape, or form. He apologized later that day and said he didn't appreciate me teaching them things like that and asked me to please drop the subject. I talked with my friends, and some say I wasn't the a-hole, but some say that I should have asked him first and not teach kids anything without his permission. And I'm confused. Am I the a-hole for teaching them Spanish? Not the a-hole. There are 2 large problems here that I see and I think you heavily need to consider before marrying this man. 1. He is extremely controlling over things which do not matter and overreacts. If this was an actual thing that really affecting his children, I'd understand, but you are not. Even if he apologized later, his initial response should be a huge, giant, neon red flag. 2. He has forbidden you from speaking Spanish, which is a very blatant attempt to erase your language and culture from the household. You will never be able to be your own person around him, only the person he wants you to be. It's worrying for the kids. It absolutely is. But Opie is not married to him, so the truth of the matter is that they are not her children. There is nothing she can do but get herself out, unfortunately. Not the a-hole. The kids ask you, and there was no reason you would have had any reason to suspect that it would be a problem. It's a totally normal thing to do, and teaching a language is a great way to connect and bond with the kids, especially if they want you to. Based on the info you gave about your fiancé's history, I suspect the Spanish language is a sore spot for him because of his ex. But there's no way you could have known that, and his reaction was awful. Not the a-hole. I agree with your comment, however, he's gonna suck it up because he married a person from Spain. Like, and what if they have kids? She can't teach them Spanish either? I feel like his reaction was very over the top.